Morning.
Morning.
Can I ask you if you noticed anything unusual in that manoeuvre you just made?
Was a totally blind turning, officer.
You mean like needing to stop to see if anything was coming?
I can only say I'm sorry.
I'm afraid I might have to insist you say a bit more than that, sir. Hello, Rose. He'll be on the Continental Lorries again then, is he?
Never you mind.
What exactly do you intend doing, Constable?
Sergeant, sir. Sergeant Beck.
I don't intend to be uncooperative at all, Sergeant. You can surely see that.
Do it often, do you?
What?
Park in the woods.
It's a fine view.
Licence, sir, please.
Mr. Pendle has established relations with the European community.
Rose.
Charlie Pendle, is it?
Charles, yes.
The builder.
Developer.
New secondary modern, year before last.
It wasn't his fault. Load of cowboys on that job, weren't they? Turn your back, they did all sorts in that cement. No wonder half of it fell down.
Rosie.
That's what you said.
You may be hearing from us, sir.
May.
Probably.
No time for breakfast, then?
Can't all have it laid on for us in the morning.
Morning.
Morning, Mum.
Morning.
Didn't your mother ever tell you about elbows on the table, Joseph?
Correspondence, ma'am.
You got crumbs down your front.
There's been a disturbance in Saracen Street. Gallagher's just radioed in.
You're not going to tell me anything more?
A bailiff went to number 49 with an eviction order some of the local residents didn't approve. When Gallagher got there, they scattered. They'd said about the bailiff.
What happened?
Somebody poured a container of an as yet unidentified liquid over him from an upstairs window.
I don't find that funny, Sergeant. Sounds very much like assault to me. Where's Gallagher now?
He's still in Saracen Street.
Well, I shall want to know more about it than that, Joseph. You've missed a bit.
You will, ma'am. The bailiff's on his way in.
Mr. Knowles, isn't it?
Yes, unexpected. Those radios, like your other fellow had, generally available, are they? Very handy they'd be in my line of work, you know. Cut out a lot of unnecessary misunderstanding if I had direct access to a bit of recognised authority. I'm the bailiff, you see.
I know that, Mr. Knowles.
I approach each door with a strictly neutral attitude. That has to be said. Misunderstandings make me nervous.
I think Inspector Darbley would like a word, sir.
All this'll have to be typed out when I get back.
Come in.
Mr. Knowles, ma'am.
Oh, yes, Mr... Please sit down, Mr. Knowles.
Let me back tie down, didn't they? Call themselves women. Hooligans more like. One of them had a ferret.
Did you recognise any of them?
Vicious things.
We shall find whoever's responsible, Mr. Knowles.
Never stop biting till the teeth meet, you know. Ferrets.
Yes. Well, can we start at the beginning, do you think? You went to serve an eviction notice at 49 Saracen Street.
Yes, a Mr. and Mrs. Williams Stamp. And most of the rest of the terrace are gone by now. Sensibly, I might add. The whole area's up for redevelopment. I mean, what's the point of them hanging on when they'll have to go at the end? Anyway, I knocks on the door, all polite. Even lifted me hat when she came to the window. The ways of doing these things. Next thing I know, well...
Yes, I see. So you're saying it was this Mrs. Stamp who threw the water over you?
Oh, yes, yes. I'm used to it. I had a trained parrot set about me once. Now, that surprises you, doesn't it? I couldn't tell anybody that, you know. It has to be somebody trained to understand.
Mr. Knowles, the others, the women in the street.
An African grey.
What?
The parrot. An African grey. Most books recommend them as ideal pets. I have to say, that's not been my experience.
About the women, Mr. Knowles.
All over they were, shouting. Words I wouldn't want to hear from a woman again, I can tell you.
Did they actually attack you?
Block the way. I don't like ferrets. Anything that kills rabbits can't be up to much. Harmless creatures, rabbits.
Mr. Knowles, I have to know whether you were actually assaulted.
Could have been, easily. No, your lad arrived, didn't he? They took off them.
And did you recognise any of them?
No. I'd know that bloody ferret if I saw it again, though.
Purely on a matter of procedure, Constable, in cases of assault, I should prefer to hear the details from the officer at the scene rather than from the victim later. Does that sound unreasonable?
He wouldn't get out of the car, ma'am. He'd locked himself in and kept insisting he was going to report the matter to you personally.
Did you ask him nicely? I realise you only have one pair of hands, David, but you could have called for assistance.
I radioed into Sergeant Beck to tell him Mr. Knowles was on his way. He'd a flat tyre, he shouldn't even been driving on it. Well, I must have turned my back for a moment. Next thing I knew, there he was. Gone.
It wasn't exactly his tyre I was thinking about. Mr. Knowles was attacked while serving a court order. Doesn't that strike you as vaguely illegal?
They were all running when I arrived, ma'am. I just found him sitting in his car mumbling something about women. He couldn't remember anything else except he reckons one of them had a ferret.
Have a look about, Joseph. Somebody must know something. Mrs. Stamp?
Might be.
I'm Inspector Darbley, Hartley Police. I'd like to talk to you, please.
You nick up what he deserved. Kept banging. After I told him to go away.
Can I come in, do you think?
No one comes in.
Just me.
Local, are you?
I like to think so now.
He wasn't either.
It wouldn't take long. I promise to leave whenever you say.
All right. Come in, then.
Thank you.
This is Mr. Stamp.
You on the ambulances?
I'm a police inspector, Mr. Stamp. My name's Darbley, Jean Darbley.
Go on.
You're welcome to sit for a while.
Would you like some tea?
Well-
There's shortbread.
Thank you.
Sofa's comfiest.
What you did to Mr. Knowles, you know, was technically an assault.
Not likely to go back then, is he?
Mrs. Stamp, about the house. I think perhaps I should explain a few facts. It may be that you don't really know the true situation. There might be some confusion.
They want us out. We're not going. No confusion.
I'm afraid the law says you must go.
Don't know nothing about that.
Well, you must have had various letters from the council.
I never read them. I send the stamps to my sister in Canada, Ontario. She collects.
The whole terrace is due for demolition. They're going to redevelop the area. You'd have been offered alternative accommodation.
But we don't need no alternative. We've already got a house.
The property here is very old.
So are we.
Everything must come to an end, Mrs. Stamp, sooner or later. That's how things are.
That's how some folk want it to be more like. We've been in this house since we were wed. Never a day out of it, really. One keen on holidays, Dad and me. This is where our lives were. That's a sort of law, isn't it?
I really wish it was that simple.
We're making it simple, lass. We're not going.
Have you any family?
No.
Did you really have horses, Mr. Stamp?
Oh, them were my dad's. He started the business, I carried on. Like father, like son, don't they say? And so it were, right up until... Oh, grand old fellas they were. Zack, we called that one. 6 we had. I cut 'em down, well, I had to. Then I bought the motor. It were the first petrol hearse in town, it were. Oh, it were a good business. You get to bury a lot of folk over the years.
I can understand you must have a reason, Mr. Stamp. A reason for not wanting to go.
Folks don't need no reason for sticking to their own hearths.
Can I come and see you again, perhaps?
But you haven't had your tea.
It was very nice of you, Mr. Stamp, but I really must be going.
Oh, take a shortbread, then. It'll come in handy.
Thank you.
You can come, but it won't make no difference.
You'll stop them throwing us out, then, will you?
I'll make some inquiries, Mr. Stamp, and then I'll come back, all right? Goodbye, Mrs. Stamp.
She'll find out.
How then? Who's to tell her?
She's the sort. Her sort always find out. What would they do if they found out? Lock us up, would they?
What did you find out?
A bit of a conspiracy of silence, ma'am. Gallagher's still at it.
There's a door towards the rear of the front room. All the houses must have been the same.
Cellar. It'll have been the cellar, ma'am.
Bolted and barred. When I looked at it, I don't know, something prickled. Under the collar, you know? You know the feeling?
Got the money down there, I expect. The old uns round here aren't very keen on banks.
Right. Let's go, Joseph.
What do I do to report something lost?
Well, you talk to me about it first, and then we all do our bit to find it.
You the one on duty then?
Every week with a Friday in it.
Must be dead boring at times.
So, who's lost what then?
Me, an earring.
Are we talking about an item of value?
I wouldn't know. Personally, it was a gift from a friend.
Description then?
Well, they were sort of long, I suppose you'd say. And when you shook your head, you could feel them on your neck like. Dead sexy they were.
That's not much to go on. Haven't you got the other one?
Well, not on my person, no.
Where did you lose them?
Oh, it's a bit difficult to say. It could have been one of a lot of places, depending on the night.
Which places?
Well, is that necessary?
You don't want us to find it?
Well, couldn't you just, keep your ear to the ground? I don't want no trouble.
Trouble?
Well, I don't want to cause no trouble.
Name and address, then.
What? Well, can't I just pop in, now and again? Sort of. Well, who do I ask for, if you're not here, then?
Beck. Always insist on seeing Sergeant Beck. A sympathetic ear. He's known for it.
Right. Well, thanks. I'm sure you'll find it.
Being ever so humble, Inspector, we're only borough engineers, you know, not the Lord Chief Justice of England.
It's not the legality of the order I'm questioning, Mr. Nathan. I'm simply saying that if a little more time was granted, we might be able to arrange a more satisfactory solution.
I spent a whole afternoon with Mrs. Stamp. I explained everything. All I got for me pens was half a pound of shortbread and an earful of anecdotes about what my late aunt used to get up to in Sunday school.
Well, I'd like to try again, Mr. Nathan. All I'm asking for is your cooperation.
We sent them 5 letters, Inspector.
Yes, I know, but they don't read them, you see.
Oh, so you know about the sister in Canada? Look, I'll see what I can do. No promises, mind. At best, it'll not be worth more than a couple of days.
I am grateful, Mr. Nathan. Thank you. I'll keep in touch.
You're welcome.
Come in. Ah. Sit down, George. Right. 5 of our largest houses, according to last month's figures. Passing through, would you say, or taking up residence?
Oh, they'll not be local, ma'am. They know what they're looking for. Silver mostly. Georgian at that. Cutlery, candlesticks, nothing too big. My guess is they're from the south. Up the motorway one day, back down the next.
Which leaves us with the age-old problem of prevention being better than cure. We're going to have to re-educate our bit of landed gentry, George. They've got to be made to realise that it doesn't just happen to other people's houses.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, another memo, then. Tell me, George, what you know about the stamps?
Stamps?
Saracen Street.
Oh, the eviction business. Well, not much, really. They've always kept themselves to themselves. They're liked, though. Most people have a good word for them.
No family.
Had a daughter. Died young. No more than a year or 2 old, they say. Biggest funeral old Billy ever gave his own daughter. Hardly never saw the like of it again. They say you went a bit funny after that.
In what way?
It's only talk, ma'am. It's just put about, that's all. They kept pretty much to the house after that. Business dropped off quite a bit. Billy didn't bother. They only came out when they had to. You can't blame them for wanting to stay, really. It's all they've known.
I thought you said you didn't know much.
Well?
Pneumonia. Dr. Stainton signed this certificate. No longer with us, I'm afraid. Complications arising from congenital cerebral palsy. The baby was born handicapped.
Did you know the baby was handicapped, Joseph?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Did anyone? The people you spoke to?
I've not heard it mentioned.
A 22-month-old baby, a handicapped baby, dies suddenly from pneumonia. An only child. The parents are apparently so grief-stricken they've virtually become recluses. No photos.
Ma'am?
There were no photographs in the house of the baby. Relatives, horses even, but none of the child.
Well, maybe they never took any.
In nearly 2 years. And the grave, it's completely neglected. Not because it became that way, it's always been like that. You can tell they've never visited it. Now, don't you find that odd, Joseph?
It's why, though, isn't it? That's what you've got to be asking yourself.
They need to redevelop the area, Mrs. Stamp. That's all the why they need.
Talk to them, did you?
Mrs. Stamp, don't you trust me?
Oh, you're getting there. No point in rushing things.
Look, I didn't have to see them at all. It's the duty of the police to enforce the law, not delay its operation. The council were sympathetic, of course, but a court order doesn't give us much leeway. Mr. Nathan has unofficially promised you a couple of days' grace, but no more. And frankly, I think that was very reasonable of him, under the circumstances.
Oh, very reasonable of you to try, I suppose. Oh, we're not ungrateful, lass. I wouldn't like you to think that.
I have no real right to be here, Mrs. Stamp. I am in your house with your permission. What I'm trying to say is, I hope you never give me cause to enter your house officially, because if that happens, I shall have to, well, demand of you things that now I am only asking. Do you see my position?
You official folk are good at that, believing things without knowing much. That's how you get on, I expect.
What would you have me believe?
You'll choose for yourself, I dare say.
Mrs. Stamp, what are you hiding?
You're away with words. You put me in mind of a cousin of mine. I haven't seen him for years. Gone, probably. Terence. He could talk your ear silly, given the chance. Do you remember him, Dad? Fair hair, all to one side.
His father drowned in the bath.
Never.
Did?
His father would have been my uncle, you daft lump.
Why can't an uncle get himself drowned then?
His father was the one with the handwriting.
Mrs. Stamp.
Anyone can drown. Don't take much.
Oh, he couldn't even swim. Not many swimmers in our family.
There's more shortbread.
Well, perhaps just a small piece. Ah. David, how do you spell ferret?
Mum?
Your report on the Saracen Street incident. How many F's would you say?
F's, Mum.
Ask Sergeant Beck to come in here, will you? And if he's having his tea, tell him to bring it with him.
Mum?
Sit down, Joseph. Joseph, have you read any of David's reports lately?
No, I can't say I have, ma'am.
I'm beginning to feel like an examination board.
He seems bright enough. He's got an O level in chemistry, so he says.
Which would presumably explain why he spells ferret with a PH.
Well, he's not from the country, ma'am.
Mr. Knowles spoke through the window of his car, but as it was closed, I do not know the meaning of what he said to me. Anyway, that's not what I want to talk to you about.
The stamps.
Mr. and Mrs. Stamp, yes. The molehill out of which you think I'm making a mountain.
I wouldn't say that, ma'am. You think there's something wrong.
I believe there's something not quite right. Let's put it that way. What if, instead of simply not wanting to leave the house, the situation is more that they can't leave?
Can't?
As in not able to, Sergeant. Problems arising out of so doing. I don't seem to be making myself very clear today.
Well, it seems a bit...
What?
Well, with respect, ma'am, a bit airy-fairy.
Does it now? And what about the proverbial copper's hunch, eh? Not allowed to put in an appearance above the rank of sergeant, is that it?
You could be right, ma'am.
Law of averages? Well, let's assume I am. What do we have?
Not much. Elderly couple, well-liked, childless, refused to move for reasons unknown.
Be suspicious, Joseph. You're good at that. Where's the weak link, eh?
It would have to be the baby.
Go on.
Caring folks, the Stamps.
Meaning?
They wouldn't have let the grave go, not like that.
They didn't exactly let it go, did they? They never visited it. As far as we know, the last time they were in that churchyard was the day of the funeral. So why, Joseph?
The memory of it all. They took it hard at the time. They'd want to forget it.
Every year, on the anniversary of her death, the local paper prints a memorial notice. For little Emily, never absent from our hearts and thoughts this day and always. They've never forgotten. So why, Joseph?
I don't know, ma'am. And if you don't mind me saying so, I don't think I want to know.
Thanks, Joseph. That'll be all.
don't want to, Annie.
It's for the best, lad. Won't take long.
Yes. Yes, I did say that, but... All right, all right. Which hospital? Is it serious? Well, in that case, I really think it can wait until... Yes, I know. Thank you, George.
Am I serious?
They wouldn't have let me in if you were.
They draw the curtains round now and again.
They always do that.
I
The doctor says your heart fluttered a bit, that's all. Made you lose consciousness.
came over all dizzy.
You should rest more.
I do naught else.
You'll be back home in a couple of days, you'll see.
Where's Annie?
She sent her love.
She won't come out then.
No. Mr. Stamp, why don't you want to leave? Can't you tell me?
I like you, lass. You care.
How is he?
He's well. There's nothing to worry about. There's not even any real treatment. He's just a rest.
Oh, thank God for that. Oh, it was good of you to come.
How did it happen?
Oh, he never was any good at the digging much.
Digging?
The garden. Out at back. In a state it was.
Your husband was admitted to hospital at 1:30 this morning.
We've done something. Long time back. Billy and me.
How old was she?
"22 months, almost to the day. No little peaky face. She'd smile, though. Not that she had much reason to do that, but she'd manage, here and there.
Tell me it all. It's easier in one go.
Law comes first with you, though, don't it? Has to.
I'm not a uniform all the way through, you know.
Maybe not. All right, then. We had to keep her close. Not out there in ground she never knew. She's warm here.
But the funeral.
Earth. Just earth. Outside the casket and in. No problem, you see. Billy doing it all.
And she's been here all these years.
Where she belongs. Oh, we couldn't leave her, could we? All by herself. covered with all this old concrete people going and coming, walking on her.
Is this where your husband was digging?
Oh, I'm no help with my back. And Billy was a lot younger when he put her there. I shouldn't have let him, I know. But we wanted to take her with us. Our only chance.
Does anyone else know?
Only you. That's all.
Nobody's ever been down here?
This is a private place, lass.
Mrs. Stamp, I know your daughter was very ill.
She was. Slow like. You could see it happening a little bit each day. Billy said she weren't meant to be born, Mum. All that fighting. Life's hard enough as it is. Sometimes you know every word someone says, just as if they were your own. They sort of say it for you. He said, if she were a horse, I'd know what to do.
I know what it must have been like, watching her, waiting. Annie, did you kill your baby?
Come on, Inspector, you know the matter's out of our hands. The council have met all legal obligations regarding the residents of Saracen Street. I can't stick my neck out again.
It is important.
To take precedence over the rehousing of 40-odd families in new flats, it would have to be. Look, the only thing I can suggest is you get in touch with the contractors.
What are the chances there, do you think?
None at all, I should say, but what have you got to lose? Sorry I can't be more helpful, Inspector. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bread and butter pudding with currants.
Nice.
They pull the curtains round sometimes.
Country pattern.
Not much room in here when they do. Everyone crowds about. Who's at home, then?
She had to know. I told her.
Had to.
Oh, near her.
She'll have written it down. You promised.
You were right after all then, ma'am.
Was I now?
Sign of a good copper, they say. Hunches?
Really?
You're quite happy then with it all?
Never felt better.
I mean about the baby.
You read the death certificate, Joseph?
Yes, and believed it.
So?
So I didn't have a hunch, did I?
Joseph, if I asked you the name of the man who always lets you know each time we get a load of cheap tellies for sale on our packs, what would you say?
I plead ignorant, ma'am.
And I'd accept that, wouldn't I? Your trouble is you just can't bear me knowing something you don't.
No, I wouldn't say that.
No, you wouldn't.
So that's it then?
Couldn't have put it better myself, Joseph.
I expect they'll be glad to be moving now, the Stamps.
Haven't gone yet.
They will, though, won't they?
That's what we're going to find out, Joseph. If I can handle our man right, we'll get the time we need.
my name's Darbley. Inspector Darbley, Hartley Police.
Oh, good heavens, you're just the people I wanted to see. Charles? Charles, there's an Inspector Darbley to see you and a Sergeant,
Beck.
Of course it is.
I can't stop, I'm afraid. Breaks the rhythm.
Would you like us to call it another time, Mr. Pendle?
Well, supposing I said yes. A little joke, Inspector. You're not serious.
Well, it really isn't anything official, Mr. Pendle.
Can I start by offering you a drink, perhaps? Sherry? We have some beer somewhere, I think.
Thank you, no.
I thought so. There you are. Well, I'll leave you to it then. We can meet up later and have a little chat. Oh, uniforms are so smart these days. Don't overdo it, Charles. Remember your operation.
It was 7 years ago. For blocked sinuses. Oh. I'm not fit enough to keep fit. Always been the trouble. Well, now, how can I help the great British police?
Mr. Pendle, you are the contractor on the new development at the Saracen Street side.
My company is.
I need a favour from you.
Now, don't tell me. One of the new flats. You have a friend of a friend.
No, Mr. Pendle, I do not have a friend.
Occupational hazard, no doubt.
You intend commencing demolition this weekend, I understand.
That is our plan.
I want to ask you to delay it a week.
For what reason, may I ask?
I'm afraid I can't say.
Oh, you can't say?
No.
Do you realize how long I've already been delayed, Inspector?
Yes, I do.
And that, as the saying goes, time is money?
I had heard.
Well, it's true. You take my word.
So it's no, then?
I'm afraid it is. Most definitely.
I didn't suggest tea, did I? Is that in order? There's nothing wrong, is there?
No, nothing wrong, Mrs. Pendle. Just a request, really.
Oh, good. Well, now you're here, you might say, well, have a look at our burglar alarm. Well, it wouldn't be too much trouble, would it? Only you people are always going on about prevention, aren't you?
Sergeant Beck will help you. If you'll excuse me, Mrs. Pendle. Mr. Pendle.
I see they leave plenty of hem on those skirts. Goodbye, Inspector.
Goodbye.
Now then, Sergeant, do you see these little sensors?
Sophie, the alarm works perfectly well. It should, for the amount it cost.
I was only asking for a professional opinion, Charles. The sergeant will know what I mean.
Your husband's quite right, Mum. It's a perfectly sound system. There aren't many who get past that.
But presumably it only takes one.
Oh, don't let that worry you. That sort only bother with the big houses.
Yes, well, thank you, Sergeant.
I'll leave your husband with a few tips, ma'am. Inside information, like.
Oh, that is kind. Well, I'll leave you to it, then. I'm sure you must have lots of things to do. Now, Charles, don't be grumpy.
Nice lady, your wife.
Sorry?
Dependable type, I'd say. Expects much the same, I wouldn't be surprised. Is that your car outside, sir?
It is.
Nice job. Plenty of room.
Sergeant, is there anything you actually want?
Well, I'd like to ask a favour too, sir. The same one as my inspector, as it turns out.
Absolutely not. I thought I made myself perfectly clear to the inspector.
Yes, you did, sir. This yours, sir?
No.
On the drive it was. Near your car. Back seat, actually. Your wife's, must be. Looks a bit valuable to me. Better check, I think.
No. No, that won't be necessary. As I know for a fact that that does not belong to my wife. I've never seen it before.
Lost, then? Lost property. It happens all the time.
I dare say.
Right. Well, there's not much point bothering your wife, if you're sure. One earring. Would you mind signing there, sir?
A week, she said.
Well, she was skimping it a bit.
What?
Erring on the side of caution. 2 weeks would make it comfortable.
Thank you, sir.
So how did you manage that?
Reasonable bloke, I thought. That's how you handle him.
Oh, what did he say?
Rest in peace, he said. Best that way, he thought.
Oh, quite appropriate, really.
That's what I thought.
Next on Drama, we catch up with London's finest police. The good folk of Sun Hill are on the beat. In the bill.
Morning, sir.
Morning, Jean. Hope this isn't too inconvenient for you.
No, not at all. Had a call up this way. Got delayed.
You don't have to apologise for being busy, love.
Well, so I'm here. Now what?
I suppose it's a case of me looking for a favour more than anything. Does the name Metcalf mean anything to you? Malcolm Bernard Metcalf?
Vaguely. Must be a villain of some sort.
Receiver. Not that I've ever been able to prove it, mind you, but that's what he is. Been after him going on for 4 years now. I wouldn't like to count the number of times that I thought that I got him. He's had the laugh on me for 4 years, Jean. 4 years.
Hang on. I thought I'd heard you nicked him.
Not for receiving.
That's attempted murder 3 weeks back. It's the same fella.
How much have you heard?
Not a lot. Tried to run someone down,
A
didn't he?
woman called Carol Lund, divorcee. Up to 3 weeks ago, she was Metcalf's lady friend. Then 3 weeks ago, she got off a bus about 11 o'clock at night, walked onto her house and found him waiting for her. He started his car and drove straight at her. She ended up halfway through a neighbour's hedge.
What brought that on?
Jealousy. She was ditching him for another bloke.
Overreacting a bit, wouldn't you say, for a man like Metcalf?
Just goes to show you the effect that some women can have on a man, doesn't it?
Says more about the male ego to me.
Aye, well, we're not quarrel about it. To tell you the truth, I couldn't care less. The only thing that matters to me is that I've got Metcalf on a plate. I can't tell you how sweet that is.
You were saying something about a favour.
Well, Metcalf is denying that it was him. He's going to plead not guilty and make me prove it.
Can you?
Providing Carol Lund identifies him in court. She's my only witness.
You mean it's just her word?
No, I didn't say that. I've got a damn strong case. The only trouble is, without hard evidence that he was actually driving the car, it's all circumstantial.
She's not likely to go bad on you, is she?
Well, she's being got at. Metcalf's got some heavy friends. I'm not sure how safe she is. I'm not sure how long she can hold out against the threats.
Any friends or relations you can send her to stay with?
Well, they're all that local, she'd be no better off. The upshot is, I'm looking for somewhere to house her, somewhere quiet where she isn't known, and where they're not likely to find her.
In other words, somewhere rather like Hartley.
I know it's a lot to ask. That's what I'm doing, asking. How do you feel about it?
How long can you give me to get things sorted?
Inspector Darby, I'm Sue Collier, Detective Sergeant.
Sue?
Mrs. Lund, Mum.
How do you do, Mrs. Lund? Jean Darbley.
Yeah, I know, she just said. Pleased to meet you.
I'm sorry it had to be in these circumstances, but we'll try and make you as comfortable as we can. Did you bring a case? I hope you're not allergic to the smell of fish and chips.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, it'll bring back a few memories, will that?
Coming up, Sue?
Best not if you don't need me, Mum. I'm supposed to get straight back. Well, I'll say goodbye then, Mrs. Lund. Be seeing you, I expect. Yeah. Thanks a lot, love. Ta-ra.
Show you up then, shall I?
Do you know Hartley at all? No, not really. I mean, it's not really my kind of place, is it?
That's probably why Mr. Logan thought you'd be best off to come here, on the steps.
God almighty.
It's the best we could do at the short notice, I'm afraid. Still, it could be worse.
Not much. It's like the room my grandma were laid out in, is this?
It's just not been lived in for a while, that's really all it is. Shall I show you the rest?
There's no worry, love.
There's your bathroom and bedroom. There's a kitchen just in here. Kitchen's a bit small.
It's not like I'm going to be entertaining much, is it? How long am I going to be stuck here for?
It's up to you, Mr. Logan. Till the committal, certainly.
It could be months, could that?
Better than having Metcalf's friends bothering you, though, wouldn't you say?
I did. I went round there last night for some chips.
And?
There was a light on, and her car was parked right outside.
Whose car's that, Sarge?
Yeah. What they call you then? Big ears?
Me, Sarge.
On your bike, sonny.
Anyway, Fred Hudson's chips aren't as good as them for the Chinese takeaway.
And pedal it.
Sarge.
So anyway, what you do then? Get a ladder up to the window.
While I was getting my chips, I said, I see you've let your flat then, Fred. He looked at me a bit funny, didn't say a word.
So what does that prove?
Morning, George.
Boy, sir. Joe.
Inspector, in, is she?
In her office, sir.
All right. Cheers.
You know what I reckon?
No.
I reckon she's either hooked up with Tom or she's on the side with someone.
None of our business, is it?
Useful to know, though.
Never reckon you for being so nosy, Joe.
It's never a bad thing to have a black on the boss.
How did she seem to you?
Oh, depressed. It'll take her a while, it's bound to. Just a pity she has to be on her own all the time.
I'm calling round each morning and evening.
You can't do more, Jean. You've got a section to run. Well, she'll just have to get used to it, that's all. It's a pity there's no phone.
On the other hand, if there was one, she might use it.
What? Ring someone and tell them she's being housed in this black hole called Hartley?
You never know. It's amazing how things get round.
Well, that's a fair point.
Any sign Metcalfe's friends have missed her yet?
No, not really. It's only a matter of time, though. Hey, I brought these for you. Now then, that one is Thomas Briggs. Convictions for wounding with intent, demanding with menaces. That one's Stuart Lawson, GBH. This last one is Alan Taylor, one conviction for handling. Now, they're the likeliest. Now, if any of those turn up here, you can reckon that you've got bother. So, any problems?
I'll shout if I need to.
Right. Does anybody else know that she's here?
Not yet.
Maybe best keep it that way.
Thanks for dropping these in.
Well, let's hope it wasn't necessary.
A bit early, aren't you, Joseph?
I'm not stopping, Mum.
Oh, while you're both there, you can have a look at these. I want a particular careful watch kept for any of these three turning up on our ground. If any of them are spotted, I'd appreciate knowing about it pretty smartish, all right?
What's the interest, Mum?
They work from the city, and Mr. Logan thinks they might be planning to do one on us.
Right, we'll show 'em at parade.
Mr. Darley keeping well, is he, Mum?
Fine, thanks.
Just not seen him for some time, so I thought I'd pass my regards on.
Thanks, Joseph.
You're pushing your luck, Joe.
Right, off!
Seven 7823 to Hartley. 7823 to Hartley.
Tell us someone's on the way. Go ahead, 7823.
I think I've just seen one of those fellas, Sarge.
One of which fellas?
One of the villains Inspector Darby wanted us to look out for. He's with a mate.
Where?
Waste ground off Bankside Road.
You sure it's them?
Well, I'm pretty sure one of them is. Lawson, I think his name is.
What are they doing?
They've just got into a car, Sarge. They're just sitting in it. It's a metallic blue Austin Princess. Registration Juliet Victor Hotel 523 Sierra.
Right. Look, if they start to move, try and stick with them without making it too obvious if you can. I'll come back to you.
I'm not exactly invisible, Sarge.
Well, try to be.
It was bailed to appear last Thursday. That's right. Well, the last time it happened, they picked him up in Blackpool. I doubt it, don't you? Come in. That's what I thought. Just for what it's worth. Yes, if anything does, all right. Bye.
It's Gallagher, Mum. He's just reported sighting Stuart Lawson down Bankside Road.
What doing?
Sitting in a car with a mate.
Moving?
Just sitting.
Bankside Road? What are they doing there? Check out the car they're in. Then get on to Gallagher and tell him that if they start moving, and if it looks like they're heading for Berry Street, we want to know fast.
Yes, Mum. Berry Street, Mum.
Unlikely as it may seem, that is what I said.
Right, well.
Mr. Hudson. Inspector Darbley here, Mr. Hudson. I'm sorry to be a nuisance, but I wonder if I could ask you to pop upstairs to Mrs. Lund. She what? She didn't say where she was going, I suppose. No, it's okay, thank you. Sorry to have troubled you.
Oh, car's registered to a William Arthur Paget. City address, no record. Not been reported stolen.
Known associate of Metcalfe or Lawson?
Not according to the computer.
7823 to Hartley.
Hartley, yes, 7823.
We're moving, Sarge.
Inspector Darbley here, which direction?
Looks like they're heading for the centre, Mum.
Try to stay with them, David, only not too close. I'd rather they didn't know what we were at.
Well, it's like I told Sergeant Parrish, Mum. This car doesn't exactly melt into the background.
Let them lose you then if you have to. I'm going up to Berry Street.
All right, Mum.
Keep me posted and tell David that's where I am, so that if it looks like they're definitely heading for there, he can leave them to me.
Hartley to 7823. Say again, 7823.
Stopping, I think.
Where?
They are. They've stopped Bellin car park.
Have they spotted you?
I don't think so. Now they're going in, Sarge.
Inspector Darbley, what's the latest, Sergeant Parrish? Can you update me?
Berlin, Mom.
Looks like they've gone in for a drink.
Let me know the minute they start moving again, will you?
Will do.
Oh, hello, love. I've been waiting for you. Have you? Who's this?
Oh, it's, look, I only nipped out for a quick drink. He was just giving me a lift down, that's all.
That was kind of you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, love.
Mister.
Fenton. Fred.
Where do you live, Mr. Fenton?
Ryborn.
Whereabouts?
Barker House Road, number 12.
Well, I hope the lift didn't cost you too much in drinks. Like another ride?
Where to?
The station. We have reason to believe that two of Metcalfe's friends are in town looking for you. After what I've just seen, I think I'd like to have you where I can keep my eye on you.
All he was doing was giving me a lift.
That's not what he thought.
Well, can't help what he thought.
It doesn't alter the basic fact there is no point in you being here if you're going to tell all the work and his wife where you're living. Sergeant Parrish, Mrs. Lund. Any word from David?
No, not yet.
Anyone in the interview room?
No, Mom.
Mrs. Lund can sit in there then. Would like to follow me?
Oh, dearie me. How long are you going to keep me here? You're the one who wanted protection, love. This is it. Thanks a lot. Does it mean nothing to you that Stuart Lawson, Metcalfe's bosom pal, is here, now, in Hartley and looking for you? You amaze me. Look, love, don't get all sniffy with me. I mean, you're doing me no favours, you know.
Oh, my mistake. It seemed to me that we were keeping you from having your arms and legs broken and maybe acid in your eyes.
Just heard from Gallagher. They're on the move again.
Where?
Heading for Manchester, Mom.
I beg your pardon?
They came out of the pub and got into the car and drove straight out of Hartley in the direction of Manchester.
Manchester. Tell David I'd like to see him as soon as he gets back, please.
Wondered if you might like a cup of tea, Mrs. Lund.
Oh, if that's the best you can do.
Coming up.
Well, is that the fella you were following?
Well, it's a bit difficult to be sure now.
In other words, you don't think it was?
I think that possibly it's open to some doubt, Mum.
Sometimes I think you ought to have been a lawyer, David. You have that certain way with words. Well, I suppose it proves you were keeping your eyes open. Though it makes me wonder whether you might not need glasses. Go on with you.
Mum.
Only let's not have too many false alarms, eh? It can get a bit expensive on petrol, to say nothing of my nerves.
Mum.
That's funny. I never heard the screams.
Nothing but compliments, Sarge. Told me she thought I'd make a very good lawyer.
Did she? Of course, I don't want to spoil the nice rosy glow you must be feeling, but there's something perhaps I ought to tell you, Davy. I happen to know that, in the inspector's opinion, the legal profession comes second only to the insurance business in terms of legalized villainy.
I was being stupid, I know. I was a bit. You can understand it, though, can't you? I mean, look at it. How would you like to be cooped up in here 24 hours a day?
Don't think I don't sympathise, love, but it's a situation we're all stuck with. And kicking against it isn't going to help anyone.
It just all seems so unreal.
What does?
Everything. Being here, you telling me they're here looking. I just can't seem to believe it's really happening.
Seemed real enough to you before. Actually, we were wrong. It wasn't who we thought.
You mean it wasn't Lawson?
Oh, doesn't alter anything I've been saying. The point is, it could have been. Do you see?
But don't worry. I'll stay put from now on. I'll be a good girl. I mean, I'm not trying to make your job difficult. It's not that. It's just that I'm beginning to wish I'd never got involved in the first place. I'm not kidding.
Didn't have much choice about it, though, did you? When you can't just ignore somebody actually deliberately trying to run you over.
What's funny about it?
Nothing. I wouldn't have thought so. And whenever this place starts to get on top of you, if I were you, I'd remember the expression on Metcalfe's face as he was trying to kill you. That should put it all into some kind of perspective.
Yeah, that's what I'll do. Yeah, thanks, love. Yeah, that's what I'll do.
This helps as well.
Busy day.
Had its moments, aye. Yes. You know this mystery fella Mrs. Darby's been having it on the side with? Met him today. Late 30s, blonde. Good figure, if you like him top-heavy. Nice legs. Bit slap-happy with the makeup, but that's about the only minus. Name's Carol Lund. Mrs. Divorced, though, so it's all right. I'd be round Fred Hudson's chippy regular if I was you, Joe. Seems more your type than hers.
Reported behaving suspiciously back of Newby Motors. Informant to Mr. Clegg, 17 Prentice Street.
On my way, Sarge. Out.
Hello, ma'am. You're here late.
Hypothetical situation, Joseph. It's 11 o'clock at night and you're crossing a road. You hear a car start up, so you look round and you realise that it's coming straight for you, deliberately, trying to run you down. So you run.
And you managed to get out of the way, but only by throwing yourself halfway through a hedge. Now, in that situation, what chance do you reckon you'd have to recognise the driver of the car?
Mrs. Lund, are we talking about, ma'am?
Common knowledge, is it?
I wouldn't say so, no.
I hope not. That's a name not to be uttered outside these four walls, Joseph.
Understood, ma'am.
She's witness in a case of attempted murder, likely to be subject to interference.
Thought it must be something like that. Soon as you started asking about flats and the like.
Did you?
11 o'clock at night, did you say? Depend a bit on how good the street lighting was, wouldn't it?
Hmm. Be the first thing Mr. Logan would check that, though, wouldn't it? It's just that there's something... It's like she keeps getting out of focus, do you know what I mean?
Anything I can do, ma'am?
Not really, Tom. See you tomorrow.
Good night, ma'am.
It's 10 days. You'd have thought she got used to being here in that time.
Gets worse, if anything.
How?
Drinking, complaining, making demands. I can understand it getting on top of her, stuck there on her own all the time. But what I don't understand is why she doesn't seem prepared to make the least little effort to come to terms with the situation. She's kicking against it all the time. Doesn't make sense. And if she's going to keep this up from now until the trial, at this rate, someone's not going to make it.
Is she getting too much for you? Is that what you're saying? Come on, Jean, love, be honest. You want shot of her, right?
Where else could she go?
I'll find somewhere.
It's just transferring the problem, is that? Tell you the thing that bothers me most about her. It's nothing to do with the tantrums. I can put up with those, but the more I see of her, the more I wonder how reliable she is as a witness.
Why?
Just a feeling. I don't know. Just a nagging feeling.
But you must have something specific.
Well, for instance, how could she see who was driving if it was dark?
Well, it's a well-lit street. And he did have two goes at her, you know. When he was reversing after the first try, I wasn't much further away from her than I am from you now. Oh, come on, Jean. You've known me long enough.
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't mean
It's
to...
a solid case. I'm not going into that court half-cocked, you know.
No.
I can prove that Metcalfe and his car were there. I can prove that he went up over that pavement and hit the gate post. I've got the dress she was wearing that got ripped and left bits of itself stuck all over the hedge. I've got the doctor's report showing the cuts and scratches that she ended up with. So you see, I do know how to put a good case together.
I think she's got me so confused. It's my own judgment I should be questioning. I'm sorry.
Do you want shot of her?
Call it a penance. We'll keep her. I didn't know what you liked, so I thought the best thing was to bring a selection. There's Harold Robbins, Barbara Cartland, Alistair MacLean. Do you know any of them?
I don't read books. Oh, except when I was in hospital once. Yeah, I had to go at one then. I can't remember what it was about, though.
Similar sort of situation, in a way. Time to kill. Anyway, I thought they might help.
I'd rather be in hospital any day. At least there you got folk to talk to.
How about magazines?
It's a never-ending fag rest, is this? Do you know, I used to look forward to having a cuppa and a fag. It's amazing how things can fall on you.
There's people a lot worse off than you know. There's some invalids never even get out of the same room.
Yeah, my heart bleeds. Well, if it gets that bad, the only thing to do is finish it.
I would.
If I'd only known. I mean, nobody told me it was going to be like this. I feel like I'm a prisoner. It's like I've done something wrong. Solitary confinement. I'm not right good on my own. I never have been. Some people aren't. I can't help it.
I could lend you a book about a woman who survived 254 days solitary confinement in South Africa, if you like. Might pick up a few tips. You don't like me much, do you? I just don't understand why you're not prepared even to try and make it easier for yourself.
It's easy to say.
Nobody's forcing you to stay here. If you're willing to take a chance out there, then go back home. Why don't you? Save us all a load of bother.
Ha ha.
At least you know it's not forever.
Look, tar for the box. The thought's appreciated.
Hey, do you fancy a cuppa while you're here? Oh, I'm afraid I haven't really got the time. I left my husband waiting for me.
Oh, you're going out, are you? Yeah, well, I thought so. I mean, it's a nice dress.
Thanks. It's just some friends of ours, small anniversary
Yeah, well,
party.
don't let me keep you then. I hope you have a nice time. I'll be thinking of you.
You won't be lonely tonight. Gallagher's bringing you in some company.
As long as it's not the singing kind. How else?
If you need to reach Wonder Woman, she'll be on this number till about midnight, and after that she'll be back home again.
Hartley Police. No, madam, we've had no report of a power cut. Have you checked your fuses? How do you get on with next door? Is he all right? Well, why don't you pop round to get him to do it for you? Yes, you
Who's this thing? She's plastered, Sarge. I found a one in the middle of the road outside the Bell trying to flag down passing cars.
Oh, no, not here again.
What's your name then, love?
Hey, where's your toilet? I'm bursting.
Yeah, just give us your name first, eh?
You lot should damn well know it by now.
Have you looked in the bag?
No, Sarge, that's the nearest I've got to. She keeps hitting me with it.
This is Lund, isn't it?
Oh, do I know you?
We had a little chat last time you were in.
Look, love, just tell me where your toilet is, will you?
Would you like to show Mrs. Lund the way, David?
Sarge, this way, Mum.
Stop handling me, will you?
The Mrs. Lund? Good evening. This is Sergeant Beck at Hartley Police Station. I believe you've got Inspector Darby there with you.
Drunk and disorderly, abusive and threatening behaviour, assaulting a police officer with an offensive weapon, namely that handbag.
Another lecture.
I give up. There's nothing I've said to you sunk in. It can't have done.
Give it a rest, will ya? It's going around bad enough as it is.
What did you think you were doing? Look at you. Making a spectacle of yourself in pubs, wandering around the town, nearly getting yourself run over. What did you think you were doing?
Having a party.
Having a party?
Oh, leave me alone.
No, I want an answer.
It's all right for some, isn't it? Hey, it's all right for some. Good party, was it? Hey, have a nice time.
No, not since I've been dragged back here.
I didn't ask for it.
You didn't leave me with much choice, though, did you?
Choice? Choice? It's all right for you, isn't it? What about me? God, I wish I never got into this. I never got into it.
Into what?
Bloody charade!
What charade? You're into it, love, because some fella tried to kill you. I'll get you home. Just hang on a minute, I'll get you home. What's going on, Joseph?
Don't reckon she know what she's saying, Mum.
Sometimes when people are drunk, they're more honest than when they're not.
be frank, I'm not sure I follow what's bothering you.
Not sure I do much better. Why call it a charade?
I suppose it is in a way.
Joseph, every time I talk to her, I come away with the feeling that she's lying.
What about? Why don't you talk to Mr. Logan about it?
I already have. He's happy. Well, I better take her home, I suppose. Joseph, have you anything special laid on for tomorrow morning, apart from sleep? I'm going to have it out with her, and I think I'd like a witness to be present. Oh. Oh, my head. Sorry if we've caught you a bit early. Just wanted to make sure you were all right.
Was it that bad?
Can't you remember?
No, not much. Sit down. I'll make you some tea in a minute.
I'm wondering if there isn't something we ought to get sorted, Carol, love, in view of last night.
Oh, can't we just forget last night?
It's not just last night on its own, more what it's a symptom of.
Come again?
You seem to have a rather strange attitude to this whole business of you being here. And I just think unless we can get things straight, there's not much point in you stopping.
Look, I won't do it again, all right? This time I mean it.
Now, I don't want you to make promises you can't keep, Carol, love. And from what you were saying last night, it seems to me that what you want is out.
Hey?
And I'm beginning to think that that might be the best thing all round.
What do you mean all I want is out?
Wished I'd never got into it. Wasn't that what Mrs. Lund said, Sergeant?
Word for word, ma'am.
And there was something else, too. One other word.
Charade.
That's right. Now, I know the dictionary defines charade as a guessing game, but a lot of people think of it as meaning a pretense. So just how exactly did you mean it, love?
I was
Because
trying.
if you did mean it as a pretense, I'm forced to wonder what it is that you're pretending about.
No!
Are you sure?
Yeah, I should be.
I'm not convinced. Are you, Sergeant?
Look, I'm telling you.
You see, when I think back to all the things about you that have bothered me, I realise that what they add up to is that you have been lying, Carol, love, about something. And the only thing you have to lie about is Metcalfe trying to kill you. Do you see?
Why should you care?
Because there's a man charged with attempted murder based on your evidence.
You want him sent down, don't you?
What if he didn't do it?
He's bent!
It doesn't matter. Still doesn't make what you're doing right.
Well, you talk to your Mr. Logan about it, then. Yeah, you talk to him before you start coming all righteous with me.
Meaning what, exactly?
Ask him.
I'm asking you.
Look, don't be dense, love. I mean, you don't think I'm here because I want to be, do you?
You tell me.
Look, I had to do it. He gave me no option.
Do what, exactly?
Frame Metcalfe, what do you think? Well, you know how long he'd been after him. Maybe he got tired of waiting, I don't know. Look, all I know is that he had this stolen clobber. And if I didn't do what he wanted, it was going to be found somewhere in my house.
You're telling us that Mr. Logan blackmailed you into fabricating this whole story?
Oh, come on, love. You tell me what to say.
You've known Jim Logan as long as me, Joseph, probably longer. Do you honestly, I mean honestly, can you believe he's bent?
Going to have to report it now, ma'am, and there it is.
Oh, Mum, there's a message from Mr.
Give us
Dark.
a minute, George, will you? She's lying, Joseph.
It makes no difference.
You know she is.
There's only one possible course now, and that's to report it.
Yes, I know you've already said so. I can take my coat off, can't I?
What's the trouble?
Don't ask.
Right, well, it's not claimed within 3 months. You'll be notified and it'll be yours to keep. Then. Thank you for bringing it in.
Stop.
Purse just been handed in with £12.16, still in it. Sad, really, I suppose. I'm going to be surprised when we come across an honest fella.
George, I'll take that.
Come.
That message from Mr. Darby.
Thanks, Joseph. Tired, Joseph.
It's not doing anyone any good you sitting here and banging your head against it, if you'll forgive me saying so, Mum.
As soon as I make a report, Jim Logan will be suspended, investigated, and possibly even charged. He's a good copper, Joseph. It's not right.
I don't see as how you've got any choice in the matter, Mum.
I don't know. I've been sitting here asking myself why. Why is she telling this story? Who'd have anything to gain? Help yourself.
Thank you. Who'd have anything to gain? Well, she's in trouble either way.
Not really. Not if she claims coercion. Another way of looking at it is to say, who'd like to see Mr. Logan in trouble?
Metcalf. The stitch, you mean? Metcalf and Carol Lund stitching up Mr. Logan?
I'm just wondering. Supposing Metcalf feels that Mr. Logan's been getting too close. So he gets our Mrs. Lund to say that he tried to kill her. Mr. Logan acts on this, and Metcalf goes to trial for attempted murder. Then, when she gets into a witness box, she's to change her story and say that Metcalf didn't try to kill her at all, but that Mr. Logan put her up to saying that he did. That she was being blackmailed by Mr. Logan to frame Metcalf.
Case against Metcalf is dismissed. Mr. Logan suspended.
And Metcalf's got him off his back, maybe for good and all.
But we forced her to jump the gun. The only thing wrong with it that I can see is if Metcalf set it all up himself, what are his mates doing putting the frighteners on Mrs. Lund?
Joseph, that's the most obvious thing of all. That's why I've been missing it. That's the point, Joseph. She's not scared. Not like she should be if someone was really threatening to do her face for her. It's all part of the con.
But I'd like to know where you're taking me. I've a right to know.
You'll find out when we get there.
Oh, thanks for nothing. Look, I can still get out again, you know. I'm taking you to meet someone who wants to see you.
All I am is the taxi, love. Anyway, I thought you'd be glad of the trip.
What's his name, then, this fella?
Which one? There are several.
Oh, a right mine of information, aren't you? Bit close to home, this is, you know. I mean, I know people that come in here.
Don't worry.
But what are we supposed to be doing here? Any road?
Just waiting.
Right, best, please.
Look, it's not exactly bright in this, you know.
Do you fancy a drink?
Not here.
This is where it's at, love. Can't change it now.
Someone wants their heads tested bringing me here, I can tell you.
No, keep on going. Bit further. See if we can get right down to the other end. Oh, bloody hell. What's the matter? You know what you've done, don't you? Fellas. What about them?
They're his mates.
Metcalfe's mate. You don't want to worry about that. You with me? I'm going. Not yet, love. But you know what they said they'd do to me,
Just
don't
keep
you?
on going.
No.
Go on.
Give over shutting window.
Hey, it's Carol. Keeping all right, lady, sweetheart?
You bloody dumbbells!
All right. Now keep calm.
Oh, bloody one.
Now perhaps you'll tell us just who we're supposed to be protecting you from.
I wanted him that bad, I walked right into it. I should have known it was too good to be true.
Was a clever conspiracy.
Still, I should have known. You see, that's what happens when you let someone get to you. When you let it become too personal. I've a lot to thank you for, Jean, love. But you were taking a bit of a risk.
To tell you the truth, at the end, I think I was doing it as much for myself as anything. Just wanted to know if I was right.
And what if you hadn't been?
Wouldn't have been much of a copper, would I?
Interview room, is she? All right to you, if I...
Mind if I join you?
Sure. Well, now, Carol, love. Well.
Look, I had to do it, Mr. Logan. He said he'd write me face off if I didn't.
I can believe that. But I'd be surprised if he didn't offer to pay you a little something as well. Enough for a Christmas cruise, perhaps. Winter in the sun. Well, now, I still want Metcalfe, love, and you're going to give him to me. Incitement to commit perjury, conspiracy to pervert the course of justice. That's what I'll settle for. So what do you say?
I want protection.
Next on Drama, we catch up with London's finest police. The good folk of Sun Hill are on the beat. In the bill.
You'll only have an hour and a half to complete the paper. Well, there's no reason to go mad. Just study it carefully. Choose the questions you think you can answer best. And for heaven's sake, work out a paragraph plan before you begin. Yes, I do realise I'm in the minority in still believing in paragraphs, punctuation, or even in trying to make your writing legible. But as one who's suffered O-level marking for many years, I can assure you that anything you do to make the marker's life easier will be more than amply rewarded. And good luck, Andrew.
Just got to go to the loo first, sir.
Well, hurry.
3199. Oh, hello, darling. Yes, I'm fine. When are you going to be... But you said tonight. No, it wasn't important. No, well, if you could just... Right. Well, you do that then, fine. Bye. You do pick your... Oh, Mr. Beasley, I'm sorry. I thought that was my husband. Andrew hasn't what? Well, where is he then? No. No, he's not here. Oh, yes, I'm positive. Oh, where on earth can he be? Oh, yes, of course, it's quite unforgivable. Yes, I'll give him a ticking off when he comes in. Right, Mr. Beasley, thank you. Goodbye.
Had fun?
Well, I doubt it.
George,
It's on.
I can't find your report on the application.
Oh.
What application's that, then?
Some fellow wants to join the police force.
Masochist or something, is he?
Gonna have it then.
I haven't done the home visit yet. I forgot all about it.
Can't it wait till morning?
No, it can't. This chap's got an interview tomorrow.
You do realise what you're asking, man? I mean, it's Philip's birthday today, his youngest.
Leave off.
I'm just trying to explain your dilemma, George. You see, if he doesn't get home in time to take Philip to the pictures...
What'll he do? Sprinkle broken glass in your cornflakes or something? Who is the boss in your house, George?
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
Good, I'm glad to hear it.
It's the missus.
That's his dilemma, in a nutshell.
You give her a ring, eh?
Why me?
Because I'm a coward. Because I made a botch of it. Anyway, for some reason, she likes you.
Oh, she does she?
Aye. She's always had this thing about older men.
Partly Police, what can I do for you? Uh-huh. And that was how long ago? Well, if there's only a couple of hours, Mrs. Patterson, No, I'd say that's no time at all. No accidents reported, no. Of course, we'll do all we can. Uh-huh. Now, if you just give me your address.
Very kind of you to come so quickly.
Not kind at all, Mrs. Patterson. I'm just doing my job. He hasn't turned up, then?
No.
Thank you. What exactly was he stopping behind at school for?
Revision, that's all. Just some last-minute revision. We'd arranged some special lessons with one of his teachers, Mr. Beasley. They're just starting their O-levels.
Must be a worrying time.
Yes, it is. My husband and I have had sleepless nights.
For the boy.
Well, yes, of course, for him too.
It's maybe why he hasn't come home yet. Happen he just wanted to let off a bit of steam beforehand.
Oh, I hope so.
Had he been working hard?
Well, yes, of course. He's a very conscientious boy. He knew it was important that he should do well. He's never been much of a one for letting off steam, though.
Got to let it off sometime.
Well, yes, but at least he could have let me know. I mean, he could have phoned me. He always tells me what he's doing and where he's going. As you see, I've prepared a special treat for tonight.
Very nice. Who's had a bite out of it, then? The mice?
Oh, no, that's my daughter, Alison. She's not in, I'm afraid. She's gone to a disco. She's a good girl, but she's a bit of a difficult age, 13. She doesn't know anything, I assure you, anything that will be any help.
What about your husband?
Well, he's away in London at the moment. I haven't told him yet. I was going to phone him at his hotel, but then I thought perhaps I'd better not bother him.
Wouldn't he want to be bothered?
Well, as you say, it may be nothing. And he'd be worried. I mean, he'd be worried sick and...
Very considerate of you, then.
My husband has a very demanding job. He's the export manager at Haddon Computers. He's done very well.
I can see.
Would you like to sit down?
Thank you. You don't think the lad might have nipped down to London to see his dad before the exams might be missing him?
No, not Andrew. He's far too sensible.
People do funny things when they're under strain.
But he's not under strain. I keep telling you, he's just been working hard.
But he
that's all.
does know where your husband stays.
Well, yes. No. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. This makes it sound as if my husband never sees them. I mean, he may be away on business a lot, but he cares about his children deeply. I mean, especially about Andrew. I suppose because Andrew's a boy. I don't see that any of this is any help.
Who knows, ma'am? Must be a reason why he's disappeared. I'm just trying
Yes,
to
of
find...
course there must, and somebody might have taken him. I mean, you hear such awful things these days.
There's no problems at home.
No more than any other home. We've always done our best for them. I don't know, you're making me feel as if I've committed some sort of crime. We have a few problems. I mean, that's what family life's about, isn't it? You must have heard that people don't just live happily ever after.
Yes, ma'am, I did have my suspicions. Are there any favourite places he might go to?
Not that I can think of, no. He's not like Alison.
What about close friends?
Not really, he hasn't got many. He's always been very self-sufficient. He actually likes being on his own.
I know the feeling. I'd like to have a quick look around the house, if that's all right. If you could show me where his bedroom is to start with. And, I'd like a recent photograph and a description of what he was wearing. And if you could check if there's any clothing missing. And then we'll have everybody out in no time looking for him.
Well, that's all I wanted to hear. Thank you. It's this way.
Bright boy, though. Have to admit it. One of the few. This is his desk. Caring parents, too. Quite a nice lad, in fact.
Popular with his stuff, then, I bet.
Well, not unpopular. But not as popular as he might have been.
Why was that?
Because he was lazy, rested on his laurels. He could have been brilliant, but he's never really bothered. Well, not that he's bone idle, not exactly. Just used to coast along, no application, you see.
That why you gave him extra tuition?
Because I was asked, that's why. And because his parents are nice people. I got to know them well. I was his form master last year. They were always popping in. His father was very worried by his reports. He should have sailed through his O-levels, but he'd just not done the work.
Looks all very neat and tidy.
Well, I don't accept shoddy work, unlike some. And just look at that.
Oh, aye. Dreadful.
You know, they call this a grammar type comprehensive. We're meant to get the cream here. The rest go down the road to Ridgefield, God help them.
Aye. My three go there.
Oh, well, there are exceptions, of course. I'm sure.
I wouldn't call them exceptions. Dead ordinary they are.
I wouldn't send my kids here, I tell you that. I mean, if I had any. A really good school this used to be, but it's all gone downhill the last 10 years. People blame the government, cutbacks and comprehensivization. I'll tell you who I blame. The parents, for putting up with it, accepting second best.
Anyway, Mr. Beasley...
That's where Andrew's parents were so different. The sort of people I could understand. Questioned everything. You've met Mr. Skinner, the headmaster?
Aye.
I well remember Andrew's father buttonholing him last Parents' Day, in front of everybody. Wanted to know why his son couldn't take Latin.
I see. Then why couldn't he?
Because we don't teach Latin in this school anymore, that's why.
Oh, well, you can't argue with that, can you? Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to...
Why not?
What?
I would. I have done the last 5 years since they did away with it.
Still, it's not exactly a vital part of day-to-day living, is it? I mean, I seem to manage without it, somehow.
I was head of Latin in the old school.
If you could give me a list of the lads in Andrew's class, Mr. Beasley. What a very busy day. And their addresses, of course.
You'll have to ask the school secretary. I'll show you where her office is. Walk! Bates, don't run.
I can hardly believe it. Nearly 24 hours and you still have absolutely no idea what's happened to him.
We're doing all we can, Mr. Patterson. And 24 hours is really not a very long time.
We're doing all we can. The usual put down. Do you know what would happen if I said that to my customers? Do you know what they'd do? They'd take their orders elsewhere. That's what they'd do, and quite right, too.
With respect, Mr. Patterson, we are dealing with human beings, not computers. It's quite a different matter. Of course, I appreciate your concern. It must be a difficult time for you and your wife. But all I can do at the moment is carry out routine inquiries and hope that in the meantime someone spots Andrew. We've circulated a full description of him. Do you have any idea where he might go?
Don't you think I'd have told you if I had? I don't begin to understand it unless someone's taken him. What other possible reason could there be?
You don't think he was suffering from strain?
Well, one of your men asked my wife that.
A couple of days before important exams, it's obviously a distinct possibility.
Well, I don't think so. Andrew's a perfectly healthy, normal boy. He's shown no signs of strain, none at all.
Would you have noticed if he had?
Sorry?
I don't want to alarm you, Mr. Patterson, but often children don't want to let their parents down. They hide their true feelings, for various reasons. Sometimes because they're scared of showing them, sometimes...
I haven't come here for a lecture on child psychiatry. Clearly, I shan't be believed, whatever I say. If I assure you that Andrew wasn't in the habit of hiding his true feelings from us, then I'm obviously one of those uncaring parents who wouldn't have noticed anyway. But he isn't. All the same, I assure you.
Well, I'm sure he'll turn up soon.
Well, I hope so. He has his first 2 exams tomorrow, history and English literature, his best subjects. Then another one the following day. What a time to choose.
Yes, well, if you do have any thoughts, any ideas...
A young boy on foot. It can't be that difficult to find him. He can't just disappear.
He could be anywhere in the country by now. Did he have any money?
I've been in London for the last 3 days. I have no idea. Ask my wife.
No, what I meant was, has he any savings, anything he could cash?
Well, as a matter of fact, yes. Yes, quite a substantial amount. In an ordinary savings account in the post office. I give him £20 a month, you see. He has to put 10 into his savings account and the rest he can spend. It's to encourage a responsible attitude towards money.
I see. How long have you been doing this?
Oh, several years. Why, you think he might have cashed it?
It's possible. It would help if we knew.
Look, perhaps you could ring my wife. She knows where it's kept. I really must get back to the office.
Of course.
And thank you.
Turn that off. Hartley 3199. Yes? Oh. So there's no news then? No. No, I suppose not. Is what? I don't know. I'd have to look. Alison, will you go into the living room? Would you hang on a minute?
David, you must be a mind reader, thanks.
I said turn that off. Alison! Hello? Yes, well, I've had a look and I can't find it. I know he keeps it in here. Oh, it's a sort of box where we keep passports and things like... What? Oh. Yes, that's still here, but there's no sign of the... But what would he want to take his savings book for? No. No, of course you don't. I'm sorry. Yes, goodbye. Alison, now, would you just put that away for a minute? You're quite sure that Andrew didn't say anything?
I've told you, not a word.
Yes, I know that's what you said, but that was before I knew he'd taken his savings book. It never occurred to me to look. You would tell me, wouldn't you, darling? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. It's just that I always assumed it was a spur-of-the-moment thing. But if it was planned, calculated, well, how long? He might have been thinking about it for weeks. That's awful. We were all sitting here. He was...
But I've already checked the railway and the bus station just this morning.
He's got this money, you see, from his post office account. Well, we think he has. I thought he might have used it to get out of the area.
Well, he could just as easily hitch, Mum, and use the money for something else.
Or stay put. He could do anything. It's daft. It's beginning to irritate me. We're not getting anywhere at all.
Well, how much money was it, Mum?
That's what you can find out, David. Check all the post offices in Hartley first thing in the morning. Start with the ones nearest the school. Have a ride round on your bicycle.
I could just as easy telephone.
Get your face known. Stop hiding behind that desk. Do you the world of good. Bit of exercise now, stop you dropping dead when you're Chief Constable.
Yes, ma'am.
So what did you do today, Alison?
She went to school.
I know that. I'd like her to tell me herself. Alison.
I went to school.
And what did you do at school?
Alison, please.
It's all right, darling. I realize it takes Alison a long time to muster her thoughts. What did you do at school, Alison? You know I like to keep up with what you're doing.
We had lessons.
Really, and what lessons?
Oh, you know.
No, I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
English, maths, French.
Really, and how's the French coming along? Still having trouble with the regular verbs?
No.
Good, so we're making progress. Excellent.
Would you like some more?
No, thank you.
There's some more sprouts.
I
Peters?
said no, thank you. What about avoir? Can you still do that?
Not now, please, darling.
Why not? I don't think it's a particularly hard thing to ask. I mean, even I can do that, and I left school at 15.
Alison's only 13.
I realise that. I also realise that Alison's a non-cooperative, sullen little girl who needs to learn a few manners.
You haven't finished?
I've had enough, thanks.
Come back here. Alison!
You can't treat them like that, you know, you simply can't.
Like what? Like children, you mean?
Well, they're not... I don't know. They're not like we were.
You can say that again. Good God, if we have to be afraid now of asking our own children how they're doing at school. What sort of world do we live in? You know, the woman down at the police station today was making me feel as if I didn't know anything about my own children. Bloody nerve.
Well, Alison's upset about Andrew. That's only natural.
Of course she's upset. I'm upset too. Aren't I allowed to be upset?
Well, yes, of course you are.
You don't realize what the real world's like, stuck here in splendid isolation. You know the way Alison's going. She leaves school without a qualification to her name. That's what worries me. Fine, I managed. But it's different now. It's a tough world.
Stop it! Stop it or I shall scream. I don't care, quite frankly. I don't care about any of it, as long as we get Andrew back in one piece. He could be unemployed until he's 65, for all I care.
I'm not talking about Andrew.
All right, then, both of them! Just as long as we get him back in one piece. Would you like some cake? I'm afraid it's all there is.
He cashed at Addleston Corner Post Office the day before yesterday. They think about 4 o'clock.
Must have nipped straight up the road after school.
That's right, ma'am.
How much did you take? The lot?
100, so you can take it any one time. They keep the book. They post it to Glasgow or somewhere, so he won't be getting any more.
Did they say anything to him? Ask him what he wanted it for? £100?
There's nothing they can do, ma'am. Not the signature's right. It's all legal and above board.
So, what did he want it for? What would you do with £100 in your hand?
I'd fly to New York.
One way?
Yeah. Once I got there, it wouldn't matter. I'd turn my hand to busking or something. No, I'd open a detective agency. The world's your oyster, New York. I've often fancied that.
Well, I think we can discount New York, particularly as he left his passport at home. If you were his age, what would you do?
Well, nowadays you can't be too careful, can you? You might have taken it just in case, a sort of nest egg.
At 15?
15's grown up.
His dad certainly did his level best to drum into him the vital importance of money. You know, you might even be right. What a depressing thought. I mean, what's the point of being young if you can't go mad occasionally? Good heavens.
What do you see then?
Oh, I can't remember. What was it? Goldilocks meets the Incredible Hulk or something.
Sounds interesting.
Oh, aye, highly grippy. Anyway, the lad thought so.
What about the missus?
What about her? She was at home with a good book. Well, a book anyway. Philip likes us to go out on our own, you see. Man to man. Now he's older.
Goldilocks?
That was a joke.
Ready then?
Yes, Ma'am.
Don't want to get a detention, do we?
Terrible thing, nerves. You know, I could hardly think what my name was in my sergeant's exam.
So I heard. How many boys are in his class?
About 15. I talked to most of them yesterday.
The examination is now over. Finish the sentence you're on. Put your pens down.
You know, if they did this to dumb animals, they'd have the RSPCA onto them like a shot.
Well, they'd have to tie the pens to their paws, wouldn't they?
Remember,
Here we go.
observe exam conditions.
We won't keep them long.
Thank you. If you just stay here for a few minutes, Inspector...
Darbley.
Inspector Darbley would like to have a word.
Thanks. I know you've all got to rush off and revise for your next exam, so I won't take long. You might not all know that a boy from your year has gone missing. His name's Andrew Patterson, and he was last seen around 4 o'clock on Monday when he cashed some money at Addleston Corner Post Office. You know the one just up the road opposite the church. Now, Sergeant Parrish here has talked to most of the boys in his class already, but we can't talk to all of you individually. But if any of you have any idea where he might have gone, or if you've seen him, or heard anything about him, or of anything at all that you think might help us, well, could you please tell us now? He won't be in trouble if we find him. All we want to do is to make sure he hasn't come to any harm. If you don't want anyone to see you talking to us, or if you're just shy, we shall be in room 5C for the next quarter of an hour. And of course, there's always someone at Hartley Police Station if you remember something later. Okay? Thank you. He walks out of school. He misses his last bit of private tuition before his exam. He has his savings book in his pocket, so he's obviously worked it all out beforehand. But then why miss his tuition? It's the quickest way to arouse suspicion.
You haven't met Mr. Beasley.
He could have endured it one last time and then gone off. Doesn't make sense.
My oldest 15, he hardly ever does anything that makes sense, not to my way of thinking.
He had enough sense to take his savings book. But he didn't take any clothes. Now, if you were really planning the Great Escape, wouldn't you take some clothes? Just a few in a school bag, perhaps? And wouldn't you tell someone, or at least leave a message?
His parents haven't heard of Dickie Bird.
Come in. Hello. What can I do for you? It's about Andrew, is it?
Aye, miss. We saw him on Monday.
We? Come in.
A crowd of us, just after school. Well, it wasn't so much we saw him, more like ran into him.
Ran into him?
Sort of a joke, like, you know. I mean, it wasn't my idea.
Of course not. Go on.
Just for a laugh, that's all. He were dashing along. We came up behind him. We just sort of dragged him along a bit. Not far.
And you often do that sort of thing? Just for a laugh?
No.
Then why in this case?
Dunno.
Didn't you like him?
No, not really. I mean, none of us did.
Why was that? Come on, why?
I dunno. I suppose because he wasn't much fun. He were always working.
Always what?
Working. Always working. Look, I don't know what you're getting at me for. I've done nothing wrong. I just came because you wanted to know if anyone had seen him. We let him go at the crossroads.
Just before the post office?
Aye. I mean, you're saying it's because of us he's vanished. That's daft.
I don't think it was, no. We think he'd already made his mind up. But put it this way, you didn't exactly help matters, you and your friends. And now I'd like their names.
Oh, no.
All of them, please.
Poor little beggar. He was petrified.
Poor little beggar, my foot. It's the poor little lad they've been persecuting I'm bothered about. Just because he worked hard. Thought that all went out with Billy Bunter.
Odd thing is, Beasley said he was lazy.
Lazy?
Aye. That's what most of the staff thought. Not very popular with them.
On account of not doing as well as they thought he ought.
Suppose so.
So who do we believe then? His teachers or the other kids?
His dad thought he was lazy too. That's why I got him this extra tuition.
Maybe Andrew just wasn't as clever as everybody thought. It's a possibility, isn't it?
So he had to keep slaving away to try and keep up.
Didn't want to disappoint everyone.
Glad my lads are playing thick.
The best days of your life, eh? Whoever said that?
A grown up, I should say.
Right.
Good afternoon. Could I speak to Inspector Darbley, please?
I'm sorry, sir. She's not available at the moment.
I'll rephrase that, young man. I want to speak to her now.
I'm afraid that's not possible, sir. She isn't here.
What is it, tea break, coffee break?
If you just give me your name, sir, I'm sure she'll get in touch. Could you just tell me what it's about?
I want to speak to someone in authority.
You can speak to me, sir. That's what I'm here for.
I said in authority.
I am an authority. I'm in charge of this desk at the moment.
What are you, a constable?
I am, sir. And I'm afraid I'm the only person who's available. So if you can tell me what it is I can do for you, or perhaps you'd like to come back later.
I don't think I like your tone.
There's not much I can do about that. It's the way I always talk, sir.
How dare you? I said I want to speak to someone in authority.
Oh, Mr. Patterson. You're looking for me, I assume.
I certainly am.
What's your problem?
Apart from your young constable here.
What about my young constable?
We'll leave that for the moment. I've come here to tell you, to warn you, that as you've done precisely nothing to find my son so far...
On the contrary.
You haven't found him, though?
Not as yet, no, but it is only 2 days.
Well, then I'm afraid I found it necessary to take the law into my own hands.
How do you mean?
I've informed the local papers of his disappearance.
We've already done that.
I've also let it slip that I'm less than delighted with the way you've handled the matter so far.
Was that really wise?
Perhaps not. But some of us have to stand and be counted. That's the trouble with this country. Everyone's afraid. Too scared to complain. Well, I'm not. And I'm here to tell you that, Inspector. I'm willing to do anything to get my son back.
Mr. Patterson.
Well?
I assure you we'll continue to do all we can, too. Nothing you say or do will make any difference to that. But it would help if in future you could work with rather than against us. What was all that about, David?
Sorry, Mum?
You weren't insolent to that gentleman, I hope.
No, Mum, of course
No,
not.
what happened?
Well, he was just being a bit offensive. How about you for a start?
And what was your reaction?
I got a bit, well, formal, I suppose.
Formal?
Formal. That's right, Mum, yeah.
Remember, we're not just thief catchers, David. We're everything from mind readers to counsellors to shoulders to cry on, which is what Mr. Patterson is after, if I'm not mistaken. When you agree, Joseph?
Never met the gentleman, ma'am. Only his missus.
What about her? Is it worth talking to her again?
I wouldn't say so, no. I'd say she's as much in the dark as we are. Besides, it'd only upset her. I'd say she's been upset enough already.
Well, we won't get anything else out of Mr. Patterson, that's for sure. We're ground to a halt. A dead halt? It's ridiculous. There must be someone we can talk to.
There's always the daughter.
Right, let's talk to her. Good idea, Joseph.
In here, Alison.
Thank you, Mrs. Etherington. Thank you very much.
I am sorry we couldn't find you anywhere more comfortable. It really is the only space available at the moment.
Not to worry, it's just a little chat. Shouldn't take long. Take a seat, then. All right, stand if you want to. I don't mind. You'll not mind if I sit down, though. I'm sure you'd like to, Mum.
Thank you.
You know, I used to go to a school like this. Only it wasn't a girls' school, of course. What is it, then? Is it me or the uniform?
What do you want to know?
You and your brother, you get on all right?
Okay, why?
You sure about that?
I suppose.
Well, do you, don't you?
What did my mum say?
I'm asking you.
We get on fine, yes.
Then why didn't he tell you where he was off to? It's a bit odd.
Probably didn't know himself was that vague.
Vague? Your mum and dad don't seem to think so, do they? I'd say they think he's the bee's knees.
I know.
So you're right and they're wrong?
Naturally.
Do you go around much together, you and Andrew?
Not really.
But you get on well, that's what you
I
said.
told you we get on very well.
Well, then why didn't you, go around together?
Because Dad would have hit the roof if he'd gone to half the places I go.
What sort of places are they, then?
Nothing very evil. It's all in his mind. He thinks we're up to all sorts of things. Wish we were.
But he lets you go. He doesn't mind that.
Of course he minds. He minds every bloody thing we do.
But not as much as if Andrew had gone.
No. Might do something to his brain cells.
You're not very keen on your dad, are you?
Do you have to have special training to see things like that? Or does it come naturally? Thought you'd be out making door-to-door inquiries or dragging the canals. Isn't that what you do when someone goes missing?
Not often, no. We usually find the answers much closer to home.
What's that supposed to mean?
Just what I said.
It's no use looking at me. I've not done anything.
I'm glad to hear it.
What do you think I've done? Cut off his head and buried him in back garden?
It seems to me, I may be wrong, but it seems to me you're either a very callous young lady or you know there's nothing the matter with your brother. Is that right?
Can I go back to my class now?
No, not yet. I haven't finished.
We said it wouldn't take long.
I'm only human. I can be mistaken like anybody else. Where is he, then? You do know, don't you?
Do I?
Why don't you want us to find him?
Who said I don't?
Look, come on, love. I haven't got all day. I don't know what you think you're up to, who you're trying to score off. But whatever game it is you're playing, count me out. I just want to know where your brother is, that's all. All right, then. We'll wait. Sorry about this, ma'am.
No, no, not at all.
I thought you hadn't got all day.
I have, if necessary.
That's fine, then.
What do you mean by that, then?
It'll be too late by then, anyhow.
Too late for what?
I don't know.
You said to Sergeant Beck.
He went on at me. He wouldn't stop. I had to say something.
So you just said the first thing that came into your head? Oh, come on, Alice, love.
I've not done anything wrong.
Now, what have you done?
Nothing.
That's not true. You know it's not. You've done something, haven't you?
I want to go home.
Your mother will be here soon. You don't want her to know you've not been telling the truth, do you?
I've not told you any lies.
That's not quite the same thing, is it? I'm talking about everything. Everything, you know. I think you've only told us bits of it so far. All right, then. Do you know what he wanted all that money for?
What money?
You know what money. The money in his savings account. He drew out £100. We know where and we know when, but we don't know why. Not yet. Can you tell us? Alison.
Oh, let me alone. Stop it. Stop it. It's got nothing to do with you.
Nothing to do with us?
No, nothing at all.
How do you make that out?
Because it hasn't.
It has, Alison. It has everything to do with us. It's our job to find your brother. And you're just trying to stop us, aren't you?
Why'd you have to stick your nose in? It would have been all right if you hadn't stuck your noses in.
How do you mean it would have been all right? You mean it would have all been sorted out by now?
I mean, it's got nothing to do with you. It's a family matter. It would have been all right.
Go on. What would have happened to make it all right? You mean Andrew's coming back, is that it?
Yes.
Then he's safe?
Yes.
Then you must tell us where he is, Alison. You must tell me the exact spot. please. Come in.
Excuse me, Mum, it's just that Mrs. Patterson's arrived.
Tell her to go away!
Tell her I'll be right out.
Mum?
Don't you want to see your mother?
Of course I do. That's why I said tell her to go away.
We asked her to come here. She should be here with you.
Bit late then, isn't she?
I'm sure she came as quickly as she could. Why don't you want to see her?
I'm not a baby. I can look after myself.
Like your brother. Did he think he could look after himself? Was he fed up with everyone telling him what to do all the time? Expecting things from him? Is that why he ran away, to show he was grown up? Was it?
Wouldn't you like to know? Where are you going?
To get your mother, all right.
Fine.
I'm sorry to keep you waiting, Mrs.
What's
Patterson.
happening? I don't understand. Why can't I see Alison?
Of course you can see her. If you'd like to come this way.
What's she done? She's done something, hasn't she?
I don't know about done, Mrs. Patterson, but we think she knows where your son is.
What?
We think she knows where Andrew is.
Where is he?
We don't know, I'm afraid, not yet. But if you'd like to come this way...
No, wait a minute. That's impossible. If she'd known, she would have told me. Just don't believe it. I mean, I know my daughter better than that. You must have got her so upset that she doesn't know what she's talking about. You've got no right to talk to her without me anyway. I suggested Alison. Alison, darling, this woman says that you know where Andrew is. Well, that's not true, is it? Alison?
I really think we should go into my office...
Look, I'm trying to talk to my daughter! Alison, darling, you don't have to worry anymore. You don't have to answer any more questions. I'm going to take you home now.
I'm afraid that's not possible.
Alison, Alison.
Now, will you tell us where he is, please? Is this it? Stay here, Joseph. Come on then, after you.
We used to play here when we were kids.
Why, here? Didn't you have a garden?
We could do what we wanted here. It was the only place there was.
Ah, good afternoon, young man. Time to get up.
Of all the damn fool, irresponsible things to do, it's absolutely incredible. Where is he?
He's getting cleaned up. He hasn't washed for 2 days. He shouldn't be long.
He's all right, though.
He seems absolutely fine. A little tired.
Well, he won't be fine when I've got a word with him.
Look, we've got him back and in one piece. Let's just leave it at that.
You do realise he'll have to sit the whole lot again, every bloody exam. He'll have to wait till January, probably. I simply can't believe it. All those months of effort completely down the drain.
I am sorry we've been such a nuisance. And I would like to thank you honestly for all you've done for us.
Yes, yes, of course, me too.
That's what we're here for.
But why would he do such a thing, such a meaningless, stupid thing? Or what was it, a prank?
I don't think so, no. They seem to have worked it out rather too thoroughly for that.
They?
I'm afraid your daughter is involved, yes. They worked out the whole thing together, apparently. They put the tent up last week, she told me. It's a small green tent.
Oh, yes, we bought it for Alison when she was in Brownies. You remember, it's been gathering dust in the attic for years.
And there's a blue sleeping bag and a couple of
prime
tin plates.
stove and a frying pan.
Cookery.
Yes, it's all Alison's.
The Sergeant Beck's gone back with Alison to clear it all up.
Oh, that's very kind. They must have sneaked it out when we weren't looking one day.
But why both of them? It's like a kick in the teeth. All the time and money we spent on them. And all they can do is throw it right back in our faces. What have we done? Are they paying us back for something? Is that it?
I don't know, Mr. Patterson. They didn't tell me. Perhaps you ought to ask them yourself.
Later, though, when it's all settled. I think perhaps we'd better take Andrew home now, if he's ready, if that's all right with you.
I'll see if I can hurry him up.
I've always tried to give them everything, haven't I? I've done my best to instill decent, responsible values into I really have. Trying to make them realize the value of hard work, success. Well, what's wrong with that, for God's sake? Is there anything wrong with that?
I'll get Andrew, shall I?
Next on Drama, we catch up with London's finest police. The good folk of Sun Hill are on the beat. In the Bill.
Trespassers as we forgive them that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
You have in black?
This looks black, wouldn't you say? All things considered, 1 cup of percolated coffee, black.
You always have white.
What a damn have in black?
Well, would it be tactless to ask why?
Because I fancy it.
Something wrong with it? Come on, what's up?
Nothing.
You look like an undertaker who's lost a corpse.
Very nice.
Dearest Gwen, happy returns and so much love on this milestone day. Your loving husband. Jack.
Post.
What's so important? All for you?
Bill for you?
Fan mail?
Perhaps.
Oh, my God. It's your birthday.
It's my birthday.
And I forgot.
If you say so. One for my mother.
Oh, Jean, I'm sorry, I clean forgot.
One for my auntie in Blackpool.
You're not really upset, are you?
Hell.
Morning.
What do you want?
It's not Armistice Day, is it?
Well, that's on a Sunday, Mum, usually.
I thought we're having the 2-minute silence.
Nice day, Mum.
Is it?
I met the weather, Mum. Crisp and bright. Autumn sunlight over the hills. I went for a walk early this morning and listened to the dawn chorus.
I see. I think I need a cup of tea. David, would you make one?
Certainly, Mum.
That was very good. No sugar. Thank you. Oh.
Oh. You artful lot of beggars. You remembered how smashing.
Many happy returns, Mum.
A little cake. I'm quite touched.
On the question of the cake, Mum, you won't be wanting it all to yourself, will you?
We'll polish it off over David's tea, shall we?
Good thinking.
And if I might say so, Mum, you still don't look a day over 38.
Cut the cake, shall we?
No, thanks. No, I'm just looking. Excuse me, do we know one another?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, it's just that you seem very interested in me and what I'm doing.
Did I?
I don't particularly like being stared at.
Naturally.
Look, I hope it's not terribly rude, but what possible concern is my shopping of yours?
Well, it's certainly my concern, but I'm not surprised you're put out. No doubt I've interrupted your activities.
What?
You understand me, I'm sure.
I've absolutely no idea what you... Oh, I see. You, are you the store detective?
You really didn't know? You didn't realise?
Well, as a matter of fact, no, I didn't.
You certain of that, sir?
Look, can we get this straight? Are you accusing me of shoplifting?
You weren't given the chance this time. Fortunately for us. Right.
What?
You. Say just where you
Please.
are. I saw you. I
Please.
saw what you did. Oh, no, you don't.
Oh,
you get back
please.
in there. Go on. Get back in there. That's all you stand. You stand there and don't you dare move. Aye.
I'm really
Here we have
terribly
it.
sorry.
Oh, yes, of course you're sorry now.
Don't you think you're rather overstepping the mark?
This individual's a shoplifter, caught red-handed.
Yes, all right, but I mean, is it necessary
I'll
to
pay for
browbeat?
them. Please let me pay for these
It's a
things.
bit late in the day for that now, isn't it? Yes. You should be thoroughly ashamed of yourself. A man of your age, you should know better. You should be setting an example.
Yes, all right, well, I think you've made your point.
Leave this to me, please, sir.
Come on, enough silly.
Yes, bring on the tears
Oh,
now.
stop this now, come on.
Stay out of this, please, sir. It's none of your affair.
Well, look what you're doing to the man. It's absolutely monstrous.
He brought it on himself.
But he's an old man. Absolutely no right whatsoever to treat him like this.
Are you two in collusion?
I beg your pardon.
Is this man your son, or your friend or associate or so? You know him, don't you?
You're crazy.
It's an old trick. You distract my attention while your friend here pockets the goods. Whoever would suspect a white-haired old man?
Look, I want to see the manager, please.
Am I right? You transferred here shortly after Inspector Widdop arrived.
Yes. He was a good boss, Bill Widdop. Knew his men. Grand copper, that man.
So I've heard.
Right.
It'll all be a bit strange at first, Ted. You must expect that. Take time to adjust, I expect.
No doubt, ma'am.
But you'll have plenty of time for your fishing now.
Not really. I'll start my new job tomorrow, you see.
Tomorrow? Huh? Don't let the grass grow under your feet.
Best way.
Oh, certainly, certainly. You're going to a job at Hubbard's, aren't you?
That's right. Taking over there as store detective.
Still a policeman, then, of sorts.
Of sorts.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Fletcher. Morning. I see. And you're prosecuting? That's for certain, is it? All right, we'll send somebody over. Yes, Mrs. Fletcher, right away. Mother Fletcher's dangling another scalp.
And who's Mother Fletcher?
You're about to find out. Shoplifting arrest. Hubbard's in the High Street. Attend.
Such.
And watch yourself, lad. Young men have been known to return never to be quite the same after a session with Mrs. Fletcher.
Sounds nasty.
She is.
I want to know. Am I to be included in the arrest?
No.
They were in it together.
Oh, for 2 bars of chocolates and a packet of peanuts? Hardened criminals, aren't we?
I didn't mean it.
I fully accept there's been some misunderstanding
I
here.
don't know what came over me. I honestly don't.
A momentary lapse. Didn't realise what you... Oh, I've heard that one time enough.
Don't you think you've done enough to this man?
What will my wife say?
You should have thought of that before.
Mrs. Fletcher.
Please don't tell.
It's all right, now don't
Well,
worry.
she's bound to know when you come up in court.
Leave it, please. I'll handle this. What is it, Mrs. Collins?
There's a policeman here, Mr. Rutherford.
Did you call the police?
Of course.
I have asked you not to involve them without first consulting either me or Mrs. Collins.
Ah, Constable. Mr. Darley.
These 2 men were involved in a shoplifting incident.
Now, just wait a moment.
Well, are you sure of that, madam?
What do you mean, am I sure?
This man is the husband of Inspector Darby of Hartley Police.
I really do think you owe this gentleman an apology.
It seems I was mistaken.
Mr. Darby, I can't say how sorry I am under this.
Yes, all right. What about our friend here?
Mr. Gilbert will be prosecuted.
No, there will be no prosecution.
Excuse me, Mr. Rutherford, I insist.
It is not your place, Mrs. Fletcher.
He stole those articles right in front of my nose.
Possibly so.
He's admitted it. You heard him. I want him in court.
Will you please leave this office and return to your duties? Oh, Constable, there's been a mistake. You shouldn't have been called in. We don't wish to press charges.
I'm sorry, sir. A complaint has been laid and I'm obliged to record it.
This is most unfortunate. Mrs. Fletcher acted out of turn. We don't wish to make an issue of this.
This gentleman was detained in the street with items he hadn't paid for, yes?
Well, yes, that's it.
Then this incident has to be reported to my superiors. I want to hear Mrs. Fletcher's account made in front of the gentleman here so that he's familiar with the details of the accusation.
I am aware of the procedures.
Right. Oh, I don't think we need to keep Mr. Darby any longer.
What about Mr. Gilbert?
I'm afraid he must stay here a bit longer, yes.
Well, in the meantime, I think you could do with a cup of tea, don't you? What you doing employing a woman like that? She's a monster.
Mrs. Fletcher's been with us for very many years. My father employed her originally. Very effective. She saved this store many thousands of pounds over the years.
But hardly the image for the friendly family store.
The pensioner has admitted it, but the store don't want a prosecution.
They just want us to do their shouting for them.
Not really, Mum. He's not come to notice before. They'd rather forget the whole thing.
Then why tell us?
A mistake, apparently. The store detective acted without authority.
It was Mrs. Fletcher phoned us, ma'am.
Mrs. Fletcher. I see.
I doubt if we'll have this problem when Ted Williams takes over a job, ma'am.
Very well, David. Put in your report. I recommend no further action. The store aren't bothered. Why should we get excited? It's their profit margin.
The amount involved is irrelevant. He's a thief.
A pensioner. Probably a bit hard up, you know how it
There's
is.
right and wrong must be punished.
Mrs. Fletcher. When? Why don't you ease up a bit, eh? This is your last day here.
I would have preferred to work till Saturday.
No, that's very generous, but it's the end of the month and we've a new man starting tomorrow.
I'm prepared to show him the ropes.
No, that won't be necessary.
Well, what time would you like me to come upstairs this afternoon?
Well, I do believe both Mr. Richard and Mr. Charles are in conference all day.
I see.
And Mr. Derrick is on holiday.
I know about Mr. Derrick.
But I shall be here, of course, to see you before you go and wish you well. It is unfortunate, most of the directors being tied up on the day you're leaving.
Not my choice. Retirement's been forced on me.
It's the store's policy, Mrs. Fletcher. All female staff have to retire at 60. But, come and see me before, at 5. Come and see me then. Well, you're the manageress. I leave these things to you.
Well, frankly, I haven't given it a thought.
Look, can't you rustle up something this afternoon? She's been here 25 years. She can't just leave empty-handed.
Mr. Rutherford, nobody's going to contribute towards a retirement present for Mrs. Fletcher. Everybody hates that dragon. Half the girls are terrified of her. She hasn't got a friend in the place.
Here we are. Good. Well, Gwen, on behalf of the directors, I should like to thank you for all the work you've done here. Your services will always be highly valued. And, well, here's a little something. A small token of our appreciation. Have a very long and happy retirement, Gwen. Best wishes. Made any plans at all?
No, I've no plans.
Oh, well, you've plenty of time now. Well, I should run along now, Gwen. Nobody's going to mind you leaving early on your last day.
No.
Is anything wrong?
I'm a little surprised, Mr. Rutherford, that's all.
You're surprised?
Yes. I understood it was normal practice for an employee with as many years' service as mine to be invited upstairs for a glass of sherry with the directors on the day they retire.
Well, they'll all be very sorry to have missed you, Gwen, but as I explained...
Last week, Miss Scott left to get married. She'd been here 10 years. She was given a big send-off, wasn't she? A wine and cheese do in the canteen. The staff clubbed together and gave her a set of silverware. You made a speech.
Oh, Jennifer was a very popular girl.
I know well enough what some of the young girls think about me because of the job I've done. But this kind of treatment I did not expect. I've worked in this store for 25 years. Without a day's sick leave, I've given up my holiday entitlement when it was necessary, in busy periods. I've dedicated my life to my work here.
Your work will always be greatly appreciated.
And the best you can do for me is a shop-soiled box of chocolates.
Well, have you got nothing to say?
Yes. Is the Queen coming to tea?
Well, it took me a bit of effort, all this, you know.
I can tell. You daft ape.
Am I forgiven?
What's cooking?
Kebabs.
Are you sure? Is that wise?
Well, you cheeky so-and-so. I've even made some hummus and this retsina to drink.
A Greek evening, in fact.
And happy birthday, Heartbreak.
Is this Greek too?
Actually not.
Not perfume. Feels like a big sausage. A bit hard for a sausage, though.
Yeah, it's not a sausage.
Very phallic.
It's a bit too early for that sort of talk. Well, come on, open it. Well, not like that. It took me 15 minutes to do it up. But it's an antique shop. What do you think?
Make a good rolling pin.
Man in the shop said it was used by the Bow Street runners.
All of them.
Don't you like it?
It's grand. I've always wanted one of these.
Thought it was sort of symbolic, you know.
It's lovely. Very good. I'll hang it in the hall. Didn't shoplift it by any chance, did you?
You heard about that, did you?
It was mentioned in passing.
Deliver us from evil, for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Your first day, Mr. Williams?
That's right.
Yeah. You look like you're on duty. Now, beware of rich old ladies. They're a dangerous breed.
Thank you,
And
Mrs.
remember, it's better to deter than detect. So, when you arrest, make a bit of a fuss, make a stir about it. That way, other customers who might have funny ideas will be warned off. Oh, yes, and keep an eye on the steely goods, as we call them. That's the small, expensive items. And young girl assistants, you know, watch out for them. I've had my eye on that one over there for weeks now. She's pocketing, I know she is. But she's a clever little trollop. Cat crafty.
Mrs. Fletcher, would you mind letting me get on with it? I don't need advice. I've been a copper too long.
That's obvious. I mean, it's no good standing about like some great pudding for all the world to see. Any good shoplifter would spot you a mile.
Oh, she's there again.
What is this? What is she up to now?
Mrs. Fletcher, something I can do for you?
Just looking around.
Well, I can see that.
Christmas shopping. Huh. Thought I'd start it early this year, avoid the rush. Something wrong with that?
No, if that's what you're doing. Only you've been here several times this week, almost every day, in fact. It's as if you've never left.
Well, it is the only department store in town. There's not much choice for shopping here in Hartley.
Yet you never seem to buy anything.
I have to be careful with my pension.
I see. This arrived this morning, marked personal, addressed to you by name. We were going to forward it, but you'd better take it since you're here.
All right.
Why bring this to me?
Why? Because I want something done.
What exactly?
I want that woman brought to book.
On what grounds?
Writing that filth. There's a law against poison pen letters.
But this isn't a poison pen letter. It's a straightforward account of events. It says that following the incident at the store, Mr. Gilbert suffered a minor heart attack and spent several days in the cottage hospital, that he's still in a very weepy, emotional state. His doctor has had to prescribe tranquilizers.
And she blames me.
No, not exactly. She asks if you don't feel at all responsible over what happened.
She has no right to suggest that.
There is nothing here that warrants police action. If you want to take this further, get a solicitor to write a letter asking for an apology.
I can't afford a solicitor on my pension.
We can't help you.
I shall go round to this woman myself and give her a piece of my mind. Her husband is a thief. She conveniently overlooks that fact.
If you want my advice, you'll forget this. Mrs. Gilbert seems to have enough troubles to be going on with.
You're no longer employed here. You have no function.
Well, that brickhead proved incapable of nabbing the girl. Look at him. I gave you fair warning, but oh no.
Mrs. Fletcher, I will not tolerate your coming here and disrupting the working routine of this store.
So that's the thanks I get. I've just done you a favour.
It's nothing whatever to do with you. Not anymore. Mr. Williams here is now the store detective.
And a fat lot of use.
Go away, Mrs. Fletcher. You have no place here. You're not wanted.
I'd like to come along with you.
What for?
Inspector would like a word with you down at the station. This way, please.
Just what are you hoping to prove? Trying to be one up on Mr. Williams? Prove that you're the better detective?
That wouldn't be difficult.
Or are you getting your own back at the store over the way you were treated when you left?
Who told you about that? Well, what's going to happen? Am I to be charged?
Not this time, no. You gave many good years' service and the store are not anxious to see you prosecuted.
Oh, very noble of them.
But if you don't stay away in future, steps may be taken.
Stay away? From the store?
I mean just that.
I can't.
Why can't you?
It's my place, the store. It's where I belong.
Why do you keep going back there?
I have to.
Have to?
I don't know why. It seems to draw me back.
But you left over 3 weeks ago. You've retired.
I pensioned off, put out to grass.
You're not liking retirement?
How am I expected to spend my days? You tell me. Watching the sun fall in the afternoon sky like the old men in the park? No, madam.
And so you go back to the store?
Oh, they don't want me, I know that. I'm a leftover, dumped on the rubbish heap of no further use. Nobody needs me, not now.
You're a widow?
Jack's long dead, 20 years dead.
So you've no one?
There's Kate. My daughter, Kate. Haven't spoken to her for 10 years.
She in Hartley?
She hates me, my little Miss Kate. Oh, she said so, quite plainly.
Why does she?
I'm not approved of, madam. Oh, no. She was ashamed of the job I did. Wouldn't even invite me to her wedding. The things I taught her, she trod on. decency, discipline, respect, the difference between right and wrong, standards. The ways I abided by all my life. My Katie turned her back on. Oh, yes, too stuffy for the likes of her. I reared that girl in upright Christian values, and in the end she hated me for it.
Perhaps you didn't mean it, not deep down. Folks sometimes say things
Most
that...
definitely she hates me. But I'm used to that.
You could be a grandmother by now. Ever think of that?
I couldn't care if I am.
Are you a churchgoer? Involved in church activities?
Not anymore. Jack showed me the light there. God gave us the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not steal, that's one of them. They're quite specific, madam. A code to live by. But a church... Oh, no, the church says, no, he didn't mean that quite, he must have meant this. There's the Old Testament and the New, so we have to alter things, bring it up to date, yet there it is. 10 rules, disciplines. The Lord said, these are my commandments. Commandments, madam, he used the word. It means something. Laws to be abided by. Break them and you'll land in hellfire.
Have you no outside activities, hobbies, interests?
Am I to be kept here?
No.
I'm free to go.
Yes. Who's your doctor, love?
Edwards in Castle Street.
Seen him lately?
I should. I'm not ill.
I think you should go to him. Today. Go today. He'll likely give you something to settle you down.
I don't need settling down.
Obviously, you're having problems adjusting to retirement. Suddenly you're in a vacuum, without a daily routine, nothing to fill your time. It's common enough.
Is it?
I think so.
You make it sound all very straightforward.
All right. She's not on the prowl. She's behaving herself.
Thank you. No! Coward. Coward's way. I don't don't need any advice from you, thank you very much. I've been a policeman for 200 years. Well, you just think you have, my friend. Stood up there like a militia beacon. Couldn't have that little trollop, though, could you? No. Don't. Scratch your head, and you'd find splinters in your fingers.
Hey!
There! Oh.
Stop her!
Mrs. Fletcher? I found your front door open, love.
I stole all these things. Over the past 3 days, shoplifting at the store. He couldn't catch me, didn't have a chance. Because, you see, I know all the tricks. 25 years of trick. Only, I wanted to be caught, arrested. I wanted to be found out. So today, when I made sure I was.
You must come with me, love.
Oh, yes, I know I must. Yeah. I sat in that house for days on end. I kept seeing these faces, face after face. All the folk I'd arrested through the years, it all kept coming back to me, the hysterics, the times I got punched and spat on, the bleeding hearts, the ones that tried to bribe me, the excuses and the tears, the appearances in court. It all kept going through my head. When I was working, you see, I never had time to sit and think. The past just rolled up behind me like a carpet, but suddenly there was nothing else. Why did you become a policewoman?
Fancied the uniform.
Oh, tripe.
I wanted something positive out of a job.
I applied once. No good.
I see.
So I took this job as a store detective. Oh, and I knew the directors didn't have much time for me. They saw me as a necessary evil. I mean, I saved them money, stopped some of the thieving. But to me, standards had to be upheld. Badness had to be punished. And that was my task there. Do you see that?
I think so.
I've never done anything wrong in my entire life until 3 days ago. I've never taken anything that didn't belong to me. I've never told an untruth.
Then you're quite exceptional.
I obeyed God's laws. Jack taught me Christian values, and I tried to uphold them in my job. Oh, and I knew I wasn't popular. Well, you don't expect that. It shouldn't be easy. But then when I left, well, they were so unkind. I mean, I did what was right, and I thought, how could they treat me? Then I got that letter. Well, that old pensioner, I mean, he stole things, and that was bad. Yes? that letter, the things it said about me me harming that old man and making him sick, was that wrong? I mean, what I did, was it wrong?
Not wrong, but perhaps you've been a bit black and white. Things are never simple. People do daft things. They make mistakes.
I'm so confused.
You've got to be a bit flexible, make allowances.
I've acted badly.
No, not badly, love.
Will you charge me? You must charge me.
Love, I am making a note of everything you tell me. I shall ask a doctor to see you next. He'll make a report, and then...
Will I go to prison?
I don't think so, love.
What will happen to me?
It depends what's best in the light of the doctor's report.
Well, I can't believe it. It's impossible.
The value of the stolen goods is estimated at £1,200.
Why? What's happened to her?
She's ill. Very ill. She can't be left alone. She mustn't go back to her house. She must be looked after until her future's been decided.
Well, I hope you're not looking to me. I only came down because, frankly, I was so amazed. This, after all she's said and done, all she's held by.
Your mother's in a very bad way.
Well, I'm not crying. My mother. Well, I've tried with her. For years I tried to reach her. She's loveless. She can't love and she's incapable of being loved. All she was interested in was that bloody job at the store. Obsessed by it. I've seen her at work there. The grief she brought to folk over the years, the sanctimonious bitch. She's intolerant, so utterly intolerant.
She's had simple beliefs. They've blinkered her. She put everything she had into that job, and when it finished, she was lost. Now she needs a bit of help.
Well, she's not getting it from me.
She is sick with remorse.
Well, unrewarded self-righteousness, no doubt.
Is that all there is to her? Can nothing be said for her? She's got guts, that's for sure. Takes some guts to live the way she has. She's believed in things. That's worth something.
She's been completely misguided.
She knows. Now she knows. It's flawed her. Your mother's in a bit of a mess.
Well, there's nothing I can do. Nothing I'm prepared to do. I don't want to know.
I found this in your mother's house. It's a birthday card from your father.
He's long dead.
Your mother bought the card, wrote in it, and posted it to herself. We all need someone. I've got someone. Some days he's not much cop, other days he'll do, but he's someone. Gwen, there's someone here to see you. Constable, we'll be outside if you need us.
Mother? Mother, I've come. Mother, I've come here. You're to return home with me. Live with us until this is sorted out. It won't be easy. We both have to try. You know that. You haven't seen your grandchildren to date, have you? 2 of them there are. 2 girls. The right handful. Mother, hold me. Reach across. Just take my hand.
Next on Drama, we catch up with London's finest police. The good folk of Sun Hill are on the beat. In the Bill.